Okay, so I do not run a network of schools, but I do run a nonprofit that are looking for really passionate people who want to change our education system and ensure that every child is being served. So I love to see this room and the passionate people we see today. What I'm going to talk to you a little bit about is the role that parents can play in improving public education and being leaders. A little bit about our organization. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, and our mission is to ensure that every single child, regardless of their background, their socioeconomic status, gets a world-class education and has access to college and career after they graduate high school. So how do we do this? We work to educate and empower parents and teachers and members of our community to be involved in education. And what we do is we run a parent leadership training center, which we'll talk more about in a second. The other key piece to the education and empower part of our mission is the Indianapolis School Chooser. And so hopefully all of you saw earlier tonight at the booths, we had these school choosers. I believe School Choice Indiana was also giving them out. This is a great tool. It's produced by great schools. It provides a lot of great information about the magnet program that Dr. Farabee talked about, as well as the charter school options, as well as private school options in our community as well. So a lot of great data, a lot of information that hopefully you guys can pick one of those up. Along with our education and empowerment efforts, we advocate for effective policies at the state level. So while we train parents and work with partners like our IPS school system to engage parents in those schools, we also work at the state level and ensure that we're creating the policy environment to ensure that we're educating our kids and that we have every single child has access to a great education. The last piece is to ensure that the policies and the work that we do and that our parent members do with us is implemented correctly to the point where it's getting to the children and it's benefiting the children at the school level. So why is it necessary to give parents tools and to work in our schools to train them to be better advocates for their child? Well, the data shows there's a link between parent involvement and student outcomes. And this link, it goes across socioeconomic lines and racial lines as well. There's a correlation that's there. Also, we had a massive community engagement effort last year in 2012 called the What's Possible campaign. So 7,000 people from our community came together to talk about the future of education within IPS. And one of the things that we heard from the parents in the district was that 97% of them wanted more tools to be able to be engaged in their child's education and to be better advocates for their child at the school level. And lastly, I mentioned the top performers of South Korea and, Korea and Finland, as well as Poland. These are the top performing countries in the world. And the one thing, there's multiple differences between our system in the United States and these systems, but one is the role that parents play. Parents in these countries, their number one priority and the way that they engage with the school is to be partners with the teacher and to be engaged with the child. It basically create that learning environment at home to ensure that their child is providing that classroom at home to be better educated as well, and working in partnership with the schools. And so that's important because I think that in the United States and in some of our schools, we define parent engagement a little differently. This is the levels of engagement that we see in the parents that we work with in our schools. You see disengaged, engaged, empowered. By disengaged, I don't mean that we're seeing parents in our schools that don't love their child, because they do. Every parent loves their child and they want to do right by their child. But the fact of the matter is, we're not providing, as a system and as a community, the tools that are necessary to allow parents to engage with their school and with their teacher and with their principal. So for instance, you may have a parent that may attend a parent-teacher conference, but don't know how to read the data or understand the data that's being provided by the teacher, and then also measuring that student outcome and whether those students are ready or on track for college or career down the road. So our role at STAND, through the work of the donors that support us and through our parents and through our teacher supporters as well, is to move parents from our STAND University for Parents program from the disengaged to the engaged level. And if they're engaged, they're actively working with their child at home, they're talking to the teacher almost weekly, and they're really working to be an advocate for their child in the classroom. And through that, as the data shows, that will improve their children's outcomes. And then lastly, we work with parents to move from the engaged level level to the empowered level. And this means that parents are actively working to be engaged in policy decisions and to be working with the school board to take their advocacy to another level and help the school system continue to improve and evolve as well. And taking, I think, a lot of the role that the leaders in Midtown are taking, which is having a larger voice in terms of wanting to improve their community and improve their schools. So the three main goals of Stanton University for Parents, which I mentioned, it's an 8-week curriculum, and the whole focus of the program is to ensure that parents, for one, increase their confidence and self-efficacy involved in their child's education. So the parents that we talk to in some of our schools had a negative experience as a child with their own education, and so it intimidates them actually to go into a school at times. And so through the program, we're trying to give them the confidence and the baseline tools to be able to understand and feel confident in the classroom or in their schools and their child's school, how to advocate and engage with their child's education. Also, increase their activity with parents on an ongoing basis to ensure that the family involvement continues throughout that child's educational career. And lastly, improve student learning. So if a parent is deeply engaged with their child and doing everything to provide that learning environment at home, it's going to improve their child's outcomes as well in the school. So in 2014, in IPS, this is where the program is exclusively right now due to the resources and funding that we have. We'll be rolling the program out for the first time in 7 schools in 2014. It's going to be free of charge to IPS parents in the schools next year. And we'll be addressing our principal's #1 concern, which is parent involvement. When we've talked to principals in IPS and our partners there, it's the parent involvement that they want to see more of. And so it's our role at Stan to ensure that parents are getting more engaged in their school and having those positive experiences, and then also being partners with teachers to ensure that their child's getting the learning and the understanding of the baseline knowledge that we need to be able to compete, as Dr. Farabee said, globally in this economy. We've piloted this program in other Stand for Children states, and what we've seen is great results. In these 3 cities, we've had 888 parent graduates, and then 587 of them have stayed engaged with efforts to be part of school teams, to work with principals and to work with teachers, to be involved more globally in that school, and not just in the way of sort of hosting bake sales or being part of the PTA, which is incredibly important, by the way. It's important for schools to have that kind of community environment. But these parents are staying involved in terms of the school and being a part of those decisions to ensure that those students continue to perform at a high level and the school continues to engage those children at a high level as well. So if you want to learn more about the program or about our organization, it's stan.org/Indiana. I appreciate your time and look forward to talking to you at the panel. Thank you.